All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today, we're going to be chatting about sleep. Before we get started, just a couple of the normal items to take care of. We will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. You can type those in by clicking the Q&A section in the lower portion of your control panel. We'll be posting a recording of the webinar on our blog. The link for that will be shown at the end. And if you would like a PDF copy of the presentation, there will be a link to download that on that same post as the recording. If your question does not get answered today, or if you think of any others after we're finished, please email our support inbox, which will be shown at the end as well. All right, sleep is a big topic, but here's what we will be covering today. We're going to start with how sleep affects our bodies and our minds and why you should have it on top of your priority list as far as health goes. And then we'll get to the good stuff, the specific tips on how to create an optimal environment for quality sleep. Okay, we all know we need sleep, right? It's one of those things that you just hear all the time. The recommendation from the National Sleep Foundation is shown here, the recommendations for different ages. Kids need more, but adults still need a good amount of sleep. There will always be exceptions to each individual category, right? But these are the general levels that we should strive to get to. But what does sleep actually do for us? Well, it does a ton. I'm not going to be able to cover everything it does today, but I want to start with a few really important things. And we're going to start with the brain. When we sleep, cerebral spinal fluid is pumped more quickly throughout our brain. Now, what this does is it takes away waste products that the brain cells make. So it's clearing out all that clutter, and it does it more while we're sleeping. Muscles. When you sleep, the body releases growth hormones that help rebuild muscles and joints. So whether you're big into lifting weights or not, if you don't get that adequate sleep, you could be seeing even better results than you are right now if you're looking for more muscle building. And then just in general, wellness too with your muscles. It doesn't have, like I said, you don't have to be a big weightlifter to see benefits. And then the heart, your heart works all day, right? And of course, it's not going to stop beating when you're asleep, but it does get a good break. During non-REM, REM standing for rapid eye movement sleep, it's a category of sleep. So when you're not dreaming, when you're in a little bit lighter, your heart rate and blood pressure actually reduce, and it gives that heart a little bit of a rest. All right, benefits to your mental health or brain health during sleep. Let's talk about some of those. Most of us know by just experience that when we get poor sleep, we don't retain information as well, and we can't really just seem to think as clearly, right? Studies suggest that there are a couple primary ways that sleep helps learning and memory specifically. First, like we just said, when you're sleep deprived, it's just really hard to focus well enough to be efficient at learning. Secondly, sleep actually has a role in consolidation or consolidating memories, or making sure what you just learned or experienced sticks with you, right? It puts it into use and keeps it in your brain. Now, we're not exactly sure how learning and memory happen, but it's usually agreed that there are three functions. An article on the Harvard website describes these three areas. The first is acquisition, which is just the introduction of new information to the brain. Consolidation is how memory becomes stable, getting it really cemented in there, like I said. Recall is that ability to go back and access your information. Now, acquisition and recall occur only when we're awake. But research suggests that consolidation, that second step, takes place during sleep when our brain is strengthening neural connections to form memories. And of course, without consolidation, we don't have recall, right? So it's a pretty important step. So when it comes to mental performance, it's pretty easy to see that it's going to suffer if we're not getting enough sleep. Now, if we can't access our memories, if we can't focus, if we can't receive information well, or remember how to perform tasks as well, that unfortunately can lead to accidents on the job or at home. Some examples of when sleep deprivation was found to be a significant factor in major accidents include the nuclear incidents at 3 Mile Island and at Chernobyl, the grounding of the Exxon Valdez oil tanker, and even the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger. Hospitals and trucking are other areas that are getting some attention due to errors when employees are lacking sleep. Drivers who get 6 hours or less of sleep are 33% more likely to have an accident than those getting 7 or 8. Another study showed that night shift nurses made 32% more mathematical errors than the day shift workers. Now, I know some of these issues have to be solved from the top down with changes in rules and regulations for hours worked, things like that, right? But that should really give you a good idea of how important sleep should be to everyone, because it's not only you that it could be impacting, right? Let's talk about some long-term effects of sleep, and specifically with sleep and disease. We'll start with obesity. People that sleep less than 6 hours per night are more likely to have a higher weight. Now, why is that? Well, when we sleep, our bodies secrete hormones to help us control our appetite. They help energy metabolism and glucose processing as well. And then when we don't get enough of that sleep, those hormones get messed up. Two of the main hormones when it comes to appetite are called leptin and ghrelin. Leptin alerts the brain when it has enough food, and ghrelin alerts our brain that we're hungry. So we release less leptin and more ghrelin when we have insufficient sleep. Now that's the exact opposite of what we want, right? And ghrelin in large amounts makes us crave that quick energy like sugar, really the opposite of what we want. We also release more cortisol, known as a stress hormone, which actually causes an increase in blood sugar as well. So again, we're leading to things. Along those same lines, when we don't get enough sleep, our body actually releases more insulin after meals. Now, what insulin does is it promotes fat storage, which causes that weight gain. And it also can cause concern for type 2 diabetes, our next bullet point, because the processing of glucose can be impaired with lack of sleep, which can lead to things like diabetes if our body doesn't know how to function, or if our hormone levels are all out of whack. Sleep apnea, which is when you're sleeping and your breathing stops and starts during the sleep throughout the night, is becoming more and more connected to heart disease. Hypertension or elevated blood pressure is more common in those that have sleep apnea or simply don't get quality sleep. And then this can lead to strokes and cardiovascular disease. We talked a bit about the mental effects of sleep when it comes to that daily function, right, with learning and memory, but chronic lack of sleep can also lead to long-term mood disorders. It's been correlated with depression, anxiety, and other mental distress. If you have concerns with your mental health, be sure you're talking to your doctor, first of all, just to get diagnosed, but also make sure you're talking about your quality of sleep when you're having those discussions about possible ways to help. I think it's one of those things that just gets missed in the discussion, right? And it can lead to so many positive things if we can turn around that aspect of our health. Now, one question that comes up sometimes is, can you get too much sleep? The recommendations are 7 to 9, and there's that upper level for a reason, because usually what happens is it's typically an illness that causes someone to think they need more than that 8 to 9 hours, or just to feel lethargic and tired, right? If you're sleeping more than that, and if you find that you're needing that much sleep to feel normal, or maybe you're still not feeling normal with more than 8 to 9 hours, it may be a good idea to chat with a doctor just to make sure there's not something else going on, okay? Now, I could go on and on about why we need sleep, and it's really important to know those risk factors. But I want to get on to some of those things that you can do to help your own sleep quality, so you don't even have to worry about these issues that can come up with lack of sleep. All right, so what are some things that you can start doing now to help get more, or even, again, ideally we're 7 to 9, right? But if you get less than that, and if it's not realistic to get that 7 to 9 quite yet, we want to get better quality sleep too, at least, right? At the very, very least. So let's talk about some ways you can do that. Sleep hygiene is the term we use to talk about the habits and practices that are really conducive to sleeping well on a regular basis. So first, stay on a schedule if you can. I'm sure you've all heard this tip, right? When you go to bed and get up at the same time, you teach your body to maximize your energy when you're awake, and you also teach it to relax better during times of rest. You probably have people in your life, or you may be one of those people that don't need an alarm clock. Your body just gets up at the same time, and then you start to feel tired at the same time every day, right? These people have created a routine with that internal clock in your body. It means that your body is better able to utilize your sleep time, and you usually feel better throughout the day with regards to energy. Now, I know for some of you, it's not possible to always be on the exact same schedule due to work, due to family, whatever it is. I totally understand. So if the time you go to bed can't be consistent, then do the best you can to create a similar experience for your body every time you go to sleep. Create a routine. It is very important to create something that calms your body and your mind down so it's ready for bed and ready to get that good quality sleep. We'll talk about some of these again in a few minutes, but a few options for a quality routine include things like unplugging from electronics, listening to music, taking a warm bath, deep breathing, meditation, things like that. So start thinking of some things that you can do that kind of relax you, that calm you down in the hour or so before bedtime. And if you're thinking, I don't have an hour before I go to bed to do those things, that's okay. Start with as much time as you can, and then just make it a goal to try and increase as you can, or again, just use the time that you have, make it as efficient as possible. Now, how do you start to create that schedule or that routine? How do you know what works best for you? Because there's lots of different options, right? Well, one thing that you can do is create a sleep journal. Jot down what you try and how it affects your sleep, good and bad. Try things for a week or two, write down the positives and negatives, and go from there. So I want you to track as much as you can. Really, the more information you have, the better. What you ate close to bedtime, what activities were you doing, how your mood was, how much stress you had, etc. All of these things affect your sleep. So the more you know about what specifically affects you, the more you can change, the more you can tweak, the more you can remedy the things as much as you can, right? Now, the next thing to think about is your environment. According to a survey by Women's Health, 77% of the times we wake up are due to outside ourselves, outside our surroundings, right? Makes sense, right? That's a huge percentage though. The good thing about that is a lot of these environmental factors can be changed. They can be at least helped, improved a little bit. Now we know some things are outside of our control, like kids, like pets, like traffic, those types of things, right? But if you can either eliminate or better deal with some of these things, that quality of sleep is going to go up, right? We're not looking for perfection, we're looking for progress. So let's start with your bed. Having a good mattress is a huge deal when it comes to your sleep quality. If you're waking up stiff, or you're not getting comfortable and have to shift all night, or if your partner moves and you find yourself bouncing around, it might be time to consider a new mattress. If it's in your budget, hit a local store, have a conversation to see what type of mattress fits your sleep style. Try to find a company that actually trains its employees and uses some science behind that. Now, if you don't have that locally, do your own research online. Sleep.org. I mentioned this in every webinar I talk about sleep, I think. And there's other similar websites too, but it can have some tips on if you're a side sleeper, stomach sleeper, softness you want, materials you want, other things that you should be on the lookout for when it comes to choosing a mattress. Now, if an entire mattress isn't realistic for you right now, think about a mattress pad. These can just be put on top of your existing mattress and can add that extra support or softness that you might need. Pillows are equally important for sleep too. If you have a worn out flat pillow, your head's not going to get proper support, right? And then you're going to be all out of alignment and you're going to get that soreness that we talked about too. And similar to a mattress, the type of pillow you need depends on what position you typically sleep on. So again, do some research, talk to someone knowledgeable at your local mattress store, see what you can do to figure out what's going to work best for you. Sheets are something to think about as well. Quality sets are very important, right? But what you think may be the best may not be the very best. Most of us think, oh, higher thread count, I really have to pay attention to that, right? Not necessarily. You actually don't want a thread count more than 400 because higher thread counts can actually trap body heat, especially during the summer, since it's actually harder for the air to go through that weave because it's going to be tighter. So look for counts between 200 and 400. That's what sleep.org, National Sleep Foundation, recommends. If you get sweaty at night, which I think a lot of us do, right? Look for cotton, bamboo, or linen sheets as they wick away that perspiration, wick away that sweat. It's recommended washing your sheets in warm water once per week for, just obvious reasons, just keeping that comfortable. Let's see, what else? Weighted blankets have actually risen in popularity. So I want to touch on that really quickly too. So the idea behind weighted blankets is that it's really more on the mental health, brain health side. They can help keep you calm at night. They're finding that they can benefit, especially for people that have anxiety, depression, autism. Those types of things can really help. It just helps you kind of feel more secure. So there's different research out there and different things, different people will say different things. But in my opinion, with weighted blankets, it is an extremely individual choice. Some people love them, some people hate them. So you just really have to try it out for yourself to see if it's right for you. So just wanted to touch on that weighted blankets, because I'm sure that's probably going to be a question that would have come up. Okay, let's get out of the bed, talk about the rest of the bedroom environment. Temperature. In general, recommendation is that the temperature of your bedroom should be between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. When you're in bed getting ready to sleep, your body starts to decrease its temperature, and having a cooler room in general can help that process. An interesting note about your body temperature and sleeping is that specifically warming up your feet can actually help your entire body cool down faster. Seems backwards, right? But having a hot water bottle at your feet, or even just wearing socks, what it does is it dilates your blood vessels faster to help push your overall body temperature down. So when your parents or grandparents used to talk about having a warm water bottle at the end of your bed to help you sleep better, it wasn't just an old wives' tale. There actually is some science to it. Another couple hacks, life hacks to cool your body down. If your room is too warm, if you can't control the temperature as much, freeze your pillowcase. Weird, right? But no, put your pillowcase in a plastic bag, put it in the freezer, take it out about 30 minutes before bedtime, and it's going to feel nice, right, when you're laying on it. And if you're not afraid of bedhead, you can also take a shower before bed, and then have wet hair, which will help cool you down as well. Noise is next on the list. Your brain continues to register sounds even when you're sleeping. So it makes sense that noise affects our sleep, right? It can cause you to completely wake up, or even just shift between those stages of sleep, the deeper and lighter stages of sleep. It can even cause a quick change in your heart rate or blood pressure, which isn't good for some people. For new parents, for example, one thing that I wanted to add in here that I thought was kind of neat that I found, whether or not a sound bothers your sleep depends on that sound's personal meaning. So when you have a new baby in the house and you feel like you hear every single move they make over the monitor, you're probably right, because it registers differently. I just thought that was kind of a neat fact to share. Now, also, there are also people who are sound sleepers. They actually are sound sleepers. They have different brain activity that make them more resistant to noise disruption. Once again, you know who you are, you know if you live with one, if you're very lucky, if you're one of those people. For the rest of us, a couple different things to think about to help with that outside noise. If you don't need to be on alert for baby noises, earplugs or white noise are great options. If you do have a young child that you need a monitor for, put the white noise machine in their room. And then if you have that monitor, it can help because you'll hear the white noise through the monitor, but then you'll still hear the baby. You can purchase specific white noise machines. They're all over the place, but you can also use a fan. You can use a radio and just put it on a static station. Lots of different options. You don't have to go out and purchase something specifically. So I get questions on this. Why does white noise work so much or work so well? So what it does is it reduces the difference between just normal background noise and what's called a peak noise, like a car door slamming or a dog barking or something like that. So, when we think of loud noises, if you've got this white noise, it's already kind of on a higher level, you might not necessarily hear that other noise as much because your brain is already registering that other noise. Shift workers, those of you that sleep during the day, highly, highly recommend white noise because there's so many more sounds going on, right? During the day than at night, typically, depending on where you live, but most of the time there's going to be more noises. All right, a couple more environmental factors before we move on. Smell. There is some evidence out there that certain smells can help facilitate better sleep. Some of you may have heard of this. Lavender is one of those smells that has been shown to decrease heart rate and blood pressure, really helpful for sleep, right? Smells can actually influence our dreams as well. So if you have certain scents that are pleasant, or if you prefer no scent, just be sure you look at laundry detergent scents and other things. Make sure they go along with your preferences. And then just washing your sheets will help keep a fresher scent in your room too, right? Allergies are another thing that you can pay attention to. They're not necessarily in the smell category, but we get stuffy noses with allergies. So I just wanted to mention it. So along with washing your sheets and pillowcases, put a cover on your mattress and box springs that keep dust mites out, that affect those allergies. And that can be helpful for everybody. Air purifiers, vacuuming regularly should be on that checklist as well. Again, not necessarily just for those with allergies, but specifically for you and then for everybody too. All right, light, that's a big one. A couple different types of light that can affect our quality of sleep. Regular light, like from your hallway or outside, can cause wake-ups. You should strive to keep your room as dark as you possibly can. Blackout curtains are one way you can prevent outside lights from waking you up. Again, if you're a shift worker, this tip can save your sleep life. This one, it's usually not wise to skimp on the quality of your blackout curtains, just because if you don't get high quality, they might not do their job, right? It might not filter out all the light, which kind of defeats the purpose. But it doesn't have to be fancy. You can use a sheet too, get a couple black sheets and put over your windows. There's lots of ways that we can work around that. But a couple other things to think about. Situating your bed so you don't face a window or a door can be another solution. Or just go the really cheap route, get a sleep mask. Super helpful, super easy. They're not fancy, but I think that's kind of what you think of. You think of someone that's just fancy wearing that eye mask. No, it's for everybody. It's super helpful. And again, one of the cheaper options to help keep that light out. Another kind of light that you need to be aware of kind of leads us into that last area is technology. Blue light is the light that comes from our devices like TVs, computers, tablets, phones, really everything now. A study from Harvard found that viewing handheld technology in that hour before bedtime can reduce the production of melatonin, which is the hormone that helps us sleep, by 90 minutes. So think about how much difference 90 minutes of sleep could make in your energy level the next day. It's a big, big deal if you think about it. So again, the dream goal would be to not have any technology in front of you the hour before bedtime. Again, I know this may not be realistic for everyone. So until you can get to that point, let's talk about some other things you can do to help. One option is to get a pair of blue light blocking glasses. This reduces the effect that light from your devices has on those hormones. Look online, there's lots of places that you can get those types of glasses online. Most phones have a night shift or a night mode that can neutralize that blue light as well. Check your phone settings to find that mode. If you can also not just necessarily light, but put your phone in airplane mode so you don't get notifications. And actually it is light because the screen usually turns on, right? So try not to give those unnecessary notifications if you can help it. If you're like me and use your phone as an alarm, put it as far away from you as possible and put it face down. Another win for that is in the morning, you actually have to get up to turn it off. So it helps prevent the snooze button. One last note on light. If you do have to wake up in the middle of the night for something, go to the restroom, whatever it may be, there are actually special non-blue light bulbs that you can get for like your bedroom or your bathroom. A lot of the energy saving lights have about 35% blue light, which is going to be similar to daylight, which again, that's going to affect when we see that in our eyes, it's going to wake us up a little bit more. So there's lots of different light bulbs out there that you can have in your bedroom that won't disturb those hormones as much. So just something to think about. And again, a simple online search is going to show you some of those options. All right, now that you got your bedroom already, and I'm running short of time, so I'm going to go fast through this. Lifestyle habits that can help. I'm going to start with nutrition. So really, we just need to eat well, right? Poor sleep, poor eating habits can be a vicious cycle. When we don't sleep well, we crave bad things. When we eat bad things, we don't sleep well, right? We need to be patient when we're working on getting out of that cycle. So I just wanted to mention that off the top. So let's talk about some of those tips that you might have already heard first. Caffeine. Stop drinking it as early in the day as you can, because as we know, that gives us energy, makes us more alert. Alcohol. This might be a backwards one. Some of you think, well, when I drink alcohol, I'd sleep better, but you don't actually. It might help you fall asleep, but it's actually the quality of sleep is pretty terrible, and it usually leads to a more wakeful night overall. So just something to think about there. And then just with regular foods, first of all, eating healthy throughout the day is really just the key, right? You just need to eat healthy as much as you possibly can. Try not to eat too late, because we don't want our body to be digesting all night, because it's just a process that can lead to restful sleep, and even things like acid reflux. Now, there's really no magic foods that you're going to eat that you're just going to fall asleep, but a few that have some nutrients that can help fall asleep a little better, or can just aid in that a little bit. Things like almonds and walnuts, turkey, kiwi, cherry juice, fatty fish, with those good omega-3s like salmon or tuna, dairy for some people, bananas, oatmeal. Research is fairly limited, because again, it kind of just depends on the individual's reaction to the food. But overall, these are healthy options. So feel free, as like an after dinner snack, or even for your dinner or supper, maybe include some of these foods. Tea, that's a big one too. A lot of people already do this. Chamomile, passion flower, some of the better sleepy time options. Again, just make sure it's decaf when we're talking about tea. And then exercise. No big revelations with exercise, just do it consistently. Vigorous exercise, though, we usually want to keep earlier in the day, 2 to 5 hours before bed. Some people, again, it's an individual. Some people can exercise and still fall asleep. For most of us, that vigorous exercise should be earlier in the day. And then things like yoga, low impact, can be closer to bed. And then last, but certainly not least, is stress management. How we deal with stress is incredibly important, especially because it just affects our sleep, right? So things like meditation, things like mindfulness that we can practice. I've done multiple webinars on this type of stuff. So please look on our blog if you want to learn more. Practicing gratefulness, jotting something down. If you're doing that sleep journal, jot down some things that you're grateful for too. It can be kind of a combo to help calm yourself before bed. Progressive muscle relaxation. This is really simple, but it can be really effective. If you're in bed right before you go to sleep, start with your toes, start tensing those muscles just for a couple seconds, and then relax them, and then work up all the muscles to the top of your body. So what this does is that you feel that tension, but then you feel how it is when you're relaxed too. A lot of us carry tension without even realizing it. So the goal is to really be able to tell, okay, my muscles are relaxed right now, and that can help just relax you before bed. And then just deep breathing, which goes along with things like mindfulness, meditation, doing some yoga before bed, things like that. But really, no matter how you choose to help stress management, it really should be a focus area for sleep. Everything's intertwined with our holistic health, whether it be nutrition, stress, sleep. Everything is going to affect our sleep. So you really need to think about ways to help. Think about your environment. Think about how you're physically set up to go to sleep. Think about all those healthy habits that you are practicing, and see if there's any areas that you can help. Think about that stress management. Anything you do, again, progress over perfection. We just want to look for those little ways. Even a little bit more sleep can make you feel better, can help you start your day on a better foot. All right, sorry I had to go quickly there at the end. I usually tend to ramble on, so I apologize. But we'll get to questions here in a second. I'll stay a few minutes late. Upcoming webinars. Next month, we're going to talk mainly about kind of meal prepping, ways to fit in, wellness, kind of shortcut type things. So that'll be a good one. And then in October, we're going to talk about cold weather exercise. I know this mainly only affects our northern states, but it's really good to make sure you're prepared for that cold weather. It shouldn't be an excuse to not exercise and not get active. And there's so many benefits to still getting outside when it's cold out. So we want to chat about that too. And then if you do have lifestyle rewards, most of you'll just be able to submit and you'll be good to go. But if your company has chosen to ask you some questions, those will pop up as you submit. So don't worry about anything. If you don't see these questions, just go ahead and submit. If you do, you should know the answer, even if you're only half paying attention today, because they're pretty easy questions. And then, of course, here's our contact information. We're on social media. The blog is where you're going to find this webinar, the recording. You can download the PDFs, and then you can watch any past webinars. You can register for the rest of our webinars for this year. And then we've got our contact information. You can always give us a call, set up a time with the health coach, or you can email the inbox, again, with any questions that pop up after today or with any other areas of your health and wellness that you want to chat about. So if you have to take off, thank you so much for your time. Otherwise, I'll hang out here for just a few minutes for questions.